Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon, watching the alien world grow larger on the main screen. The planet Kethmoran looked like a ball of fire and rock spinning in space. Red and orange colors swirled across its surface, and bright flashes showed where volcanoes were erupting. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Dr. Lisa Grant said as she joined him at the viewing window. She was the ship's expert on alien life forms, and this was her first time seeing a real alien world up close. "Beautiful and terrifying," Jake replied. He had been exploring space for 20 years, but this was different. This was humanity's first real meeting with another intelligent species. The pressure was enormous. Commander Ryan Burke walked over to them, his face serious as always. "The Vorthic ships are approaching, Captain. 3 of them, all bigger than ours." Jake nodded. The Vorthic had been polite in their communications, but there was something in their tone that bothered him. They spoke like they were better than humans, like they were doing humanity a favor by talking to them. "All stations, prepare for contact with the alien delegation," Jake announced over the ship's communication system. "Remember, we represent all of Earth today." Chief Engineer Maya Patel looked up from her control panel. "Their technology is amazing, Captain. The way their ships move through space is unlike anything we've ever seen. They don't seem to need the big engines we use." The alien ships came alongside the New Horizon, and Jake could see they were made of some kind of crystal material that reflected light in strange ways. They looked beautiful, but also dangerous, like sharp weapons floating in space. "Incoming transmission," the communications officer announced. "Put it on screen," Jake ordered. The screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at an alien face. The Vorthic looked like a cross between a lizard and a walking crystal. Its skin was covered in hard, shiny plates that changed color as it moved. Its eyes were large and yellow, and its mouth was full of sharp teeth. "I am Ambassador Zeeth Kalar of the Vorthic Empire," the alien said. Its voice was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. "We welcome the humans to our space, though we wonder how you survived the journey from your soft world." Jake stepped forward. "I am Captain Jake Morrison, representing Earth and humanity. We are honored to meet with your people." The alien's mouth curved in what might have been a smile, but it looked more like a threat. "Honor? Yes, that is important. We Vorthic understand honor because we are the strongest species in the galaxy. We are the Deathworlders." Dr. Grant whispered. "To Jake, Deathworlders?" Ambassador Zithkalar heard her and laughed, a sound like metal scraping metal. "You do not know this term? Of course not. You come from a gentle world where nothing truly dangerous exists. Deathworlders are species that evolved on worlds that try to kill everything that lives on them. We Vorthic are the greatest Deathworlders in the galaxy." "Tell us about your world," Lisa said, stepping forward with curiosity in her voice. The alien's chest puffed up with pride. "Kethmoran is a world of constant death and rebirth. Every day, the ground shakes with earthquakes that would destroy your human cities. Every day, volcanoes explode with enough force to level mountains. The air itself is poison to most species, and the temperature can melt metal." On the screen behind the ambassador, images appeared showing the Vorthic homeworld. Jake and his crew watched in amazement as they saw massive earthquakes tearing apart landscapes, volcanoes shooting lava high into the sky, and storms of toxic gas rolling across continents. "We have lived in this hell for millions of years," Seth Kalar continued. "It has made us strong. It has made us the ultimate survivors. No other species in the galaxy can match our ability to live in dangerous conditions. We are the masters of survival." Commander Burke crossed his arms. "That's very impressive, but humans are tougher than you might think." The ambassador's laugh was even louder this time. "Humans? You soft-worlders? Your planet is a paradise compared to real worlds. You have gentle rains and warm sunshine. You have never faced true danger. Maya spoke up from her station. Earth has some pretty dangerous places, too. Dangerous? Zethkalar's eyes flashed with amusement. Show me these dangerous places on your soft world. Jake activated the ship's database and brought up images of Earth. He showed pictures of hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, and volcanoes. But as he watched the alien's reaction, he could see that Zethkalar was not impressed. These are minor inconveniences, the ambassador said dismissively. On Kethmoran, we call this weather pleasant. Your species has never been tested by real danger. You are soft because your world is soft. The bridge fell silent. Jake could feel his crew's anger rising, but he kept his voice calm. Perhaps we could visit your world and see these conditions for ourselves. Zethkalar's crystal plates changed color, flashing bright red. You wish to visit Kethmoran? You would die within minutes of leaving your ship. Maybe, Jake said quietly. Or maybe you would be surprised by what humans can survive. The alien ambassador stared at him for a long moment. Then his mouth curved in that threatening smile again. Very well, human. We will give you a chance to prove your worth. We challenge you to survive on Kethmoran for 1 standard week. When you fail, as you surely will, you will admit that the Vorthic are the true masters of survival in this galaxy. Dr. Grant looked worried. Captain, maybe we should think about this. But Jake had already made up his mind. He could see the contempt. In the alien's eyes, the certainty that humans were weak and pathetic. Every instinct told him that this challenge was important, not just for his crew, but for all of humanity's future in the galaxy. We accept your challenge, Ambassador, Jake said firmly. Zethkalar's laugh echoed through the bridge. Excellent. We will see how long the soft-worlders last on a real death world. Prepare your funeral songs, humans. You will need them soon. Lieutenant Alex Chun checked his equipment one last time before stepping off the shuttle onto the surface of Kethmoran. The heat hit him immediately, even through his protective suit. The ground beneath his feet was black rock that had been carved and melted by countless volcanic eruptions. Readings are stable, Dr. Paul Martinez said over the radio. He was the team's geologist, and Alex could hear the excitement in his voice despite the dangerous situation. The atmosphere is toxic, but our suits can handle it for now. Sergeant Kelly Torres moved up beside them, her medical scanner all ready. Working. Air temperature is 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Ground temperature is even higher. The Vorthic weren't lying about the heat. Technician Ben Foster was setting up their communication equipment. The electromagnetic activity is incredible. All these volcanic eruptions are creating huge electrical storms. It's like the whole planet is one big lightning rod. Around them, the landscape looked like something from a nightmare. Geysers of poisonous gas shot up from cracks in the ground. Rivers of lava flowed down the sides of mountains. In the distance, they could see 3 different volcanoes erupting at the same time, painting the sky with red and orange light. No wonder the Vorthic think they're so tough, Kelly said. This place is trying to kill us just by existing. Above them, Alex could see the Vorthic observation ship hovering in the sky. He knew they were being watched, probably being laughed at. The aliens expected the humans to last maybe a few hours before giving up and begging to be rescued. Let's prove them wrong, Alex said quietly. The first challenge came within an hour. A massive earthquake shook the ground so hard that all 4 humans were thrown to their knees. Rocks fell from the cliffs around them, and a new crack opened in the ground just 20 feet away. Magnitude 7.2, Paul said, checking his instruments. That would destroy most cities on Earth, but Alex was already moving. He had grown up in California, where earthquakes were part of daily life. He knew how to read the signs, how to find safe ground, how to prepare for aftershocks. There, he pointed to a section of rock that looked more stable. We set up camp there. The rock formation will protect us from falling debris, and it's far enough from the fault lines. Ben looked surprised. How can you tell? Same way you can tell when a machine is about to break down, Alex replied. You learn to read the signs. As they moved their equipment to the safer location, Kelly noticed something interesting. The Vorthic cities are all built the same way. They're designed to survive earthquakes, but they're not designed to prevent them or predict them. They just build strong walls and hope for the best. Reactive instead of proactive, Paul agreed. They've adapted to survive the danger, but they haven't learned to avoid it. The second day brought a new challenge. Toxic gas clouds rolled across the landscape like green fog. The Vorthic had warned them that these clouds could dissolve metal and burn through most protective materials. But Ben had an idea. The gas is heavier than air, right? And it's coming from those volcanic vents over there. Right, Paul confirmed. Then, we can predict where it's going to go. Ben pulled out his tablet and started running calculations. The wind patterns, the temperature gradients, the pressure differences. It's like a weather system, but with poison gas instead of rain. Within an hour, Ben had created a simple computer program that could predict where the gas clouds would move. The humans were able to stay ahead of the toxic fog, moving to safe areas before the danger arrived. The Vorthic just hide in their buildings when the gas comes, Kelly observed. They never thought to track it and avoid it. On the third day, the temperature rose even higher. The heat was so intense that their cooling systems started to fail. This was the moment the Vorthic observers expected the humans to give up. Instead, Alex remembered his survival training in Death Valley. We need to change our schedule. Move during the coolest parts of the day. Rest during the hottest. Find shade, conserve water, and stay low to the ground where it's cooler. Like desert survival, Kelly said. Exactly like desert survival. Paul found natural caves that stayed cooler than the surface. Ben rigged up a simple cooling system using their water supplies and the constant wind from the volcanic activity. Kelly rationed their food and water to make sure they had enough energy to keep going. By the fourth day, something amazing was happening. The humans weren't just surviving anymore. They were actually getting comfortable. This is like that time I went camping in Yellowstone, Paul said as he collected mineral samples from around a hot spring. Except the sulfur smell is stronger here. The earthquake patterns are becoming predictable, Alex added. They happen roughly every 6 hours, always preceded by smaller tremors. It's like the planet has a schedule. Ben had improved their shelter. Using techniques he'd learned from building emergency shelters during hurricane season in Florida. The Vorthic build their structures to withstand earthquakes, but they never thought to make them comfortable. They just endure the conditions instead of adapting to them. Kelly was treating minor injuries and monitoring everyone's health. You know what's funny? The Vorthic are tougher than us physically. Their crystal skin protects them from heat and toxic gas better than our suits. But they never learn to be smart about survival. They're like a person who thinks being strong means being able to take a punch, Alex said. But real strength is not getting punched in the first place. On the fifth day, the humans made a discovery that shocked their Vorthic observers. While exploring a new area, Paul found deposits of rare minerals that could be very valuable. The constant volcanic activity had created geological formations that were perfect for mining. The Vorthic have been sitting on a fortune, Paul said excitedly. These minerals could power their entire civilization for centuries. But they never bothered to look for them because they were too busy just trying to survive. Ben had an even bigger surprise. Using his electronics expertise, he discovered that the planet's constant electrical activity could be harnessed to create almost unlimited power. It's like the whole planet is a giant generator. A Vorthik could have clean, unlimited energy, if they just knew how to tap into it. By the 6th day, the humans had not only survived, but thrived. They had established a comfortable base camp, mapped the local geology, identified valuable resources, and even started planning improvements to the area. We could build a research station here, Kelly suggested. Study the unique geology, maybe. Help the Vorthik develop better survival techniques. Or better yet, Alex said with a grin, we could turn this into a training ground for human survival specialists. This place would be perfect for teaching people how to handle extreme conditions. On the 7th and final day, the Vorthik delegation came down to the surface to see how the humans were doing. They expected to find 4 exhausted, defeated humans, begging to go home. Instead, they found a thriving camp with organized equipment, mapped resources, and 4 humans who looked like they were having the time of their lives. Ambassador Zeth Kalar stared at the human camp in disbelief. This is impossible. You should be nearly dead. This world should have broken you. Alex stood up and brushed dust off his hands. It's a challenging environment, but nothing we haven't dealt with before. Actually, it reminds me of some places on Earth. Impossible, the ambassador repeated. No world is more dangerous than Kethmoran. Dr. Martinez held up his geological samples. These are fascinating formations. We'd like to establish a permanent research station here, if you don't mind. This place has incredible scientific value. The Vorthik delegation looked at each other in confusion and growing alarm. The Softworlders hadn't just survived their ultimate test. They had made it look easy. We accept your request, Zeth Kalar said slowly. But first, we must learn more about this world you call Earth. Perhaps we have underestimated the dangers of soft worlds. The humans exchanged glances. They had won the challenge, but they could see that the real test was just beginning. The meeting room aboard the New Horizon was packed with humans and Vorthik representatives. Ambassador Zeth Kalar sat at the far end of the table, his crystal plates shifting colors as he tried to hide his confusion and growing concern. The humans had survived Kethmoran, and now he needed to understand how Dr. Lisa Grant stood at the front of the room, a holographic display showing behind her. She had spent the last 3 days preparing this presentation, gathering data from Earth's history and current conditions. Captain Jape Morrison sat nearby, watching the alien delegation carefully. Ambassador Zeth Kalar, Lisa began, you asked us to explain how humans survived on your world. To do that, we need to tell you about our world, about Earth. The hologram behind her showed a blue and green planet spinning slowly in space. It looked peaceful and beautiful, exactly like the soft world the Vorthik expected. This is Earth as seen from space, Lisa continued. It looks calm and gentle, doesn't it? But appearances can be deceiving. Admiral Susan Blake's image appeared on a smaller screen. She was calling in from Earth's military headquarters, her uniform crisp and her expression serious. Doctor, I've gathered the data you requested. The geological and climate information is ready for presentation. Thank you, Admiral. Lisa turned back to the Vorthik delegation. Let's start with Earth's geological activity. The hologram changed to show a cross-section of Earth. Red lines marked the tectonic plates, and bright spots showed areas of volcanic activity. Earth sits on dozens of moving plates of rock, Lisa explained. These plates are constantly crashing into each other, creating earthquakes and volcanoes. But unlike Kethmoran, where the activity is constant and predictable, Earth's geological activity is chaotic and unpredictable. Dr. Nathan Cross appeared on another communication screen. He was Earth's leading expert on human evolution, calling in from a university. The key point here is that humans evolved during a period of extreme geological instability. Our species developed during what we call the Ice Ages, when the planet's climate was changing dramatically every few thousand years. Professor Amy. Lou joined the call from a weather station. And that's just the beginning. Earth's weather systems are incredibly violent and unpredictable. Let me show you some examples. The hologram changed to show a massive hurricane seen from space. The storm covered an area larger than many small countries, with winds spinning at incredible speeds. This is a hurricane, Amy explained. These storms have winds over 200 miles per hour and can destroy entire cities. They happen regularly during certain seasons, and humans have learned to predict them and survive them. Zeth Kalar leaned forward, his plates flashing yellow with interest. These storms are impressive, but they are just weather events. They cannot compare to the constant danger of a true death world. You're right that they're weather events, Lisa said with a slight smile. But humans don't hide from them. We live in areas where they happen regularly. Millions of humans live in hurricane zones and have learned to survive these storms year after year. The hologram showed footage of humans preparing for a hurricane, boarding up windows, stocking supplies, and then cleaning up and rebuilding after the storm passed. But hurricanes are just one type of Earth weather, Amy continued. We also have tornadoes. The display showed a massive tornado tearing across a landscape, destroying everything in its path. The funnel of wind was so powerful, it could pick up buildings and throw them miles away. Tornadoes are even more unpredictable than hurricanes, Amy explained. They can form in minutes and destroy everything in a path several miles wide. The winds can reach over 300 miles per hour. General Marcus Webb joined the call from a military base. And humans live in tornado zones, too. We've developed early warning systems, emergency procedures, and building techniques to survive these events. Some humans even chase tornadoes for scientific research. One of the younger Vorthik in the delegation made a sound of disbelief. They chase the storms? For science, Lisa confirmed. But that's not even the most dangerous weather on Earth. The hologram showed massive blizzards, ice storms that could freeze entire cities, floods that could cover thousands of square miles, and droughts that could last for years. Earth's climate has always been unstable, Dr. Cross explained. During human evolution, our planet went through ice ages that covered most continents with ice sheets miles thick. Between ice ages, there were periods of extreme heat and drought. Humans developed during these constant changes. This forced us to become adaptable, Lisa added. We couldn't specialize for one environment like the Vorthik did. We had to learn to survive in any environment. Admiral Blake took over the presentation. Let me show you some places where humans live today. The hologram showed research stations. In Antarctica, where humans lived and worked in temperatures far below freezing. Then it showed oil rigs in the ocean, where humans worked on platforms surrounded by some of the most dangerous waters on Earth. Humans work in the deep ocean, where the pressure would crush most life forms, the Admiral explained. We work in deserts where the temperature can reach 140 degrees Fahrenheit during the day and drop below freezing at night. The display showed footage of humans working in these extreme environments, not just surviving, but building complex operations and living normal lives. But the most important thing to understand, Dr. Cross said, is that humans didn't just adapt to one dangerous environment. We spread across the entire planet, learning to survive in every possible climate and condition. The hologram showed a map of Earth with human settlements marked. Every continent was covered with cities and towns, even in the most hostile environments. Humans live in active volcano zones, Lisa said, showing footage of cities built near active volcanoes. We live on earthquake fault lines. The display showed San Francisco and Tokyo, massive cities built in areas that experienced regular earthquakes. We live in areas that flood regularly, places that have hurricanes every year, regions with active tornadoes, and zones with extreme temperature changes. Amy added. Zeth Kalar was quiet for a long moment, his plates shifting through different colors. But these are just weather events and geological activity. Surely your planet does not have the constant daily danger that makes a true death world. General Webb smiled grimly. Ambassador, let me tell you about Earth's predators. The hologram. Changed to show various Earth animals. Lions, tigers, bears, sharks, crocodiles, and venomous snakes filled the display. Humans evolved while being hunted by creatures like these, the general explained. We didn't have natural weapons or armor like many species. We had to use our brains to survive. But that's ancient history, one of the Vorthics said. Actually, no, Lisa replied. Humans still live alongside these predators. We've learned to coexist with them, but attacks still happen regularly. The display showed footage of humans swimming in shark-infested waters, hiking in areas with dangerous bears, and living in regions where venomous snakes were common. The key point, Dr. Cross said, is that Earth never gave humans a break. There was no safe environment where we could relax and just survive. Every environment on Earth had different dangers, so we had to become experts at adapting to any situation. Admiral Blake brought up military footage showing human soldiers training in various extreme environments. Our military regularly trains soldiers in conditions that would be considered uninhabitable by most species. Desert survival, Arctic survival, jungle survival, mountain survival. We consider this basic training. What you call survival skills, Lisa said to the Vorthic delegation, humans call camping. The room fell silent. The Vorthic delegation stared at the displays, showing humans not just surviving, but thriving in conditions that would challenge even their hardy species. But surely, Zeth Kalar said slowly, your species must have some safe areas where the young and weak can live in peace. Captain Morrison spoke for the first time during the presentation. Ambassador, let me show you something. The hologram changed to show human children playing outside during a thunderstorm, laughing as lightning flashed overhead and rain poured down. Human children play in weather that would send most aliens running for shelter, Morrison said quietly. We consider thunderstorms entertainment. The Vorthic delegation looked at each other with growing alarm. Their entire understanding of death worlds and survival was crumbling before their eyes. How many humans live on your world? Zeth Kalar asked weakly. Over 8 billion, Lisa answered, and they're spread across every environment on the planet. 8 billion, the ambassador repeated in shock. On a world that dangerous? Ambassador, Admiral Blake said seriously, I think it's time you understood something important. What you call a death world, we call home. The news traveled fast through the Galactic Federation. Within days, every member species had heard about the human presentation and the shocking revelations about Earth. The Vorthic, who had ruled as the galaxy's supreme survivors for centuries, suddenly found their status in question. Ambassador Helen Ross stood in the Federation Council chambers, looking out at representatives from dozens of alien species. As Earth's chief diplomat, she had been called to address the growing controversy about Deathworld classifications and the humans' claims about their planet. The Vorthic delegation has requested proof, Helen announced to the assembled aliens. They believe that our data about Earth must be exaggerated or false. They want to see our world for themselves. Counselor Vex Thara, the most senior Vorthic leader, rose from his crystalline seat. His plates were flashing angry red colors, and his voice carried the authority of someone used to being obeyed. We do not believe that any world can be more dangerous than Kethmoran, he declared. The humans must be lying to make themselves seem more important. We challenge them to prove their claims by showing us this Earth they describe. Federation President Qualinth, a tall alien with blue skin and multiple arms, gestured for silence. This is a reasonable request. If Earth is truly as dangerous as the humans claim, then our understanding of Deathworld classifications must be revised. Ambassador Ross, will humanity accept this challenge? Helen smiled calmly. We would be honored to welcome a Federation expedition to Earth, but I must warn you that our planet is currently experiencing what we call severe weather season in several regions. Severe weather season? President Qualanth asked. Hurricane season in our Atlantic region, tornado season in our Central Plains, and monsoon season in our southern continent, Helen explained. Plus, we're having increased volcanic activity in the Pacific Ring of Fire, but these are normal conditions for Earth. The alien representatives murmured among themselves. What the human described as normal conditions would be considered natural. Disasters on most worlds. 3 days later, a joint Federation expedition ship entered Earth's solar system. The ship carried 12 representatives from different species, including 5 Vorthic delegates who were confident they would expose human lies about their soft world. Captain Joe Anderson met the alien delegation at the orbital station above Earth. He was a veteran military officer who had been chosen to guide the aliens because of his experience with extreme environments. Welcome to Earth orbit, Joe said as the aliens stared out at the blue and white planet below them. Before we go down to the surface, I need to brief you on current conditions. He activated a holographic display showing Earth's weather patterns. Massive spiral storms covered large areas of the ocean, and flashing lights indicated electrical activity across several continents. We currently have Hurricane Patricia approaching the Gulf Coast with winds over 180 miles per hour. Joe explained. There are 15 active tornadoes in the Central Plains, a volcanic eruption in Hawaii, and a magnitude 6.1 earthquake just hit the west coast about an hour ago. One of the non-Vorthic aliens, a bird-like creature called Aviax, fluffed his feathers nervously. Perhaps we should wait for calmer conditions? These are calm conditions, Joe replied seriously. This is actually a pretty quiet day for Earth. Counselor Vexthara's plates flashed with determination. We are not afraid of weather. Take us to your surface. Their first stop was New Orleans, a human city that had been rebuilt after being destroyed by a hurricane 20 years earlier. The aliens walked through the streets in environmental suits, while humans went about their daily business in the hot, humid air. The atmospheric pressure here would crush most structures, observed Zexhai, one of the Vorthic scientists. And the humidity levels are toxic to most life forms. Yet humans live here by the millions, Joe pointed out, and they chose to rebuild this city in the same location after it was completely destroyed by a storm. They watched human children playing in water that was over 90 degrees Fahrenheit, while their parents sat casually nearby, completely comfortable in conditions that had the aliens sweating inside their protective suits. Their second stop was Yellowstone National Park, where active geysers shot boiling water hundreds of feet into the air, and hot springs bubbled with water that could cook flesh in seconds. This entire air is sitting on top of a supervolcano, Joe explained as they walked along. Paths between the thermal features. It could explode at any time and destroy half the continent. And humans visit this place for recreation? President Qualanth asked in disbelief. Over 4 million visitors per year, Joe confirmed. Families come here for vacations. We consider it one of our most beautiful natural areas. The aliens watched in horror as human families walked casually past pools of boiling acid and geysers of superheated steam, taking pictures and enjoying picnics. The third stop was California during earthquake season. As their shuttle landed, the ground began to shake with a magnitude 5.8 earthquake. The alien delegation panicked, grabbing onto anything solid and preparing for disaster. The humans around them barely reacted. People continued walking, Cars kept driving, and children kept playing in a nearby park. A few humans paused to check their phones for earthquake information, then went back to their normal activities. That was a moderate earthquake, Joe said calmly as the shaking stopped. Nothing to worry about. Counselor Vexthara's plates had turned pale white with shock. Your people barely noticed an earthquake that would have destroyed buildings on Keth Morin. California buildings are designed to handle much stronger earthquakes than that, Joe explained. We get thousands of earthquakes every year. You learn to build for them. They visited a school where human children were practicing earthquake drills, calmly crawling under desks and following safety procedures. The alien delegation watched in amazement as 6-year-old humans performed safety routines that would challenge adult Vorthik. Their fourth stop was a storm-chasing expedition in Oklahoma. The aliens watched from a safe distance as human scientists drove vehicles directly toward a massive tornado that was tearing across the landscape. They're driving toward the storm, Aviax said in a terrified whisper. On purpose. Tornado research, Joe explained. We need to understand how these storms work so we can better predict them and keep people safe. The aliens watched human meteorologists set up equipment in the path of the tornado, measuring wind speeds and pressure while standing just miles from a storm that could destroy entire cities. For science, Joe added with a grin, their final stop was a military training base in Alaska, where human soldiers were practicing survival techniques in sub-zero temperatures. The aliens watched as humans rappelled down icy cliffs, built shelters in blizzards, and operated complex equipment while wearing thick gloves in -40-degree weather. This is basic training, Captain Anderson explained. Every human soldier learns to survive in environments like this. We call it extreme weather conditioning. Commander Lisa Park joined them at the base. She was the officer in charge of the survival training program, and she looked completely comfortable in the freezing conditions that had the aliens shivering even inside their heated suits. We're actually planning to expand the program, Lisa said. We want to create survival courses that simulate conditions on other worlds. Maybe something like Keth Morin would make a good training ground. The words hit the Vorthik delegation like a physical blow. The humans were talking about using their ultimate death world as a training exercise. On the flight back to the orbital station, the alien delegation sat in stunned silence. They had seen humans living casually in conditions that would challenge the hardiest species in the galaxy. They had watched human children play in environments that would terrify adult aliens. How do you do it? Counselor Vexthara asked quietly. How do you live with such constant danger? Captain Anderson thought for a moment before answering. I guess we don't think of it as constant danger. We think of it as life. Every environment has challenges, so you learn to handle them. You build better buildings, develop better warning systems, train people to respond properly. You adapt. But why don't you leave the dangerous areas? President Qualenth asked. Surely you could all live in the safest parts of your world. Helen Ross, who had joined them for the return trip, shook her head. There are no safe parts of Earth. Every region has its own dangers. Hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, volcanoes, blizzards, floods, droughts, extreme heat, extreme cold. You can't escape danger on Earth, so you learn to live with it. More than that, Joe added, we've learned to thrive because of it. The challenges make us stronger, smarter, more adaptable. A safe world would be boring. As their ship left Earth orbit, the alien delegation looked back at the blue and white planet that had completely shattered their understanding of what it meant to be a Deathworlder. We must revise the galactic classification system, President Qualenth announced. Earth represents a level of plane. Terry hostility we have never encountered. The humans are the true Deathworlders. Counselor Vexthara's plates had settled into a dull gray color of defeat and shame. We have been arrogant fools. We thought surviving on one dangerous world made U.S. superior. The humans survive on a world that makes Kethmorin look like a garden paradise. The age of Vorthic supremacy was over. A new 6 months had passed since the Federation expedition to Earth, and the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The Grand Chamber of the United Nations headquarters in New York was packed with representatives from dozens of alien species, all waiting to hear Secretary General Maria Santos speak about humanity's new role in the galaxy. Outside the building, a thunderstorm was rolling in from the Atlantic Ocean. Lightning flashed across the sky, and thunder rumbled overhead, but the alien delegates barely flinched anymore. After months of living on Earth, they had learned that what humans called normal weather was just part of daily life on the ultimate. Deathworld. Dr. Kevin Brooks stood at the front of the chamber, adjusting his presentation materials. As the director of the newly established Deathworld Research Institute, he had spent the last 6 months working with alien scientists to study extreme environments across the galaxy. The institute was headquartered on Earth, naturally, since no other world could provide the variety of dangerous conditions needed for comprehensive research. Ladies, gentlemen, and honored alien delegates, Maria Santos began, her voice carrying easily through the large chamber. We gather today to formally establish the new galactic survival protocols and to recognize the partnerships that have formed between our species. Commander Lisa Park sat in the front row, wearing the uniform of the newly created Galactic Survival Course. Next to her sat Elder Zeth Kalar, the former Vorthic ambassador, who had undergone what humans might call a complete change of heart. His crystal plates now showed humble blue and green colors, instead of the arrogant reds he had displayed during their first meeting. 6 months ago, Maria continued, the galaxy believed that survival was about being tough enough to endure harsh conditions. Today, we understand that true survival is about being smart enough to adapt to any conditions. The thunderstorm outside grew stronger, and rain began pelting the windows. Several alien delegates instinctively moved away from the windows, but the humans in the room didn't even notice. Children could be heard playing in the rain in a nearby park, their laughter mixing with the sound of thunder. Dr. Brooks took the podium. The Deathworld Research Institute has completed its first major project, he announced. We have successfully established research stations on 12 previously uninhabitable worlds using techniques developed on Earth. A holographic display showed alien colonies thriving on worlds that had been considered impossible to settle. These weren't just survival outposts, but actual communities with families, schools, and growing populations. The key breakthrough, Kevin explained, was understanding that survival isn't about being stronger than your environment. It's about being smarter than your environment. In the audience, Aviax, the bird-like delegate, raised one wing. Dr. Brooks, can you give us specific examples? Certainly. On Zerion Prime, the acid rain was killing everything we tried to build. The Zerion people had given up on surface settlements. But using techniques developed from studying Earth's acid rain problems, we were able to create neutralization systems that actually turn the acid rain into useful chemicals for manufacturing. The display showed a thriving city on Zerion Prime, with beautiful buildings that sparkled in the acid rain. The toxic precipitation was being collected, processed, and turned into materials for construction and technology. On frozen Keth in the Outer Rim, the constant blizzards made travel impossible. The local species lived in isolated underground bunkers. Using Earth's Arctic survival techniques, we helped them develop surface transportation systems and above-ground communities that actually used the blizzards for power generation. Commander Lisa Park stood up to address the assembly. The Galactic Survival Corps has trained over 10,000 alien personnel in the last 6 months. We've had students from 47 different species, and the success rate has been incredible. What? kind of training do you provide?" asked a delegate from the crystalline hegemony. "Everything from basic weather prediction to advanced emergency response," Lisa replied. "We teach species how to read environmental signs, how to build adaptive shelters, how to find and purify water in hostile conditions, and how to work together as teams during crises." She gestured to Elder Zeth Kalar. "Some of our best students have been Vorthik delegates who came here to learn new approaches to survival." The former ambassador stood slowly, his plates shifting to show respectful silver tones. "I wish to address the assembly," he said, his voice much quieter and more humble than it had been months earlier. "Please proceed, Elder," Maria said. "6 months ago, I stood before humans and claimed that the Vorthik were the greatest survivors in the galaxy. I was wrong, and my arrogance nearly cost our species the opportunity to learn from the true masters of survival." His plates flashed with what humans had learned was embarrassment among his people. "The Vorthik built our entire civilization around enduring hardship. We took pride in our ability to suffer through the dangers of our world. But the humans taught us something revolutionary. You don't have to suffer to survive. You can thrive." He gestured toward the windows where the storm was still raging. "Human children are playing in weather that would send adult Vorthik running for shelter. They're not suffering. They're enjoying themselves. This is the difference between endurance and adaptation." A younger Vorthik delegate named Kexther rose from the audience. "Elder, can you tell the assembly about the changes on Kethmorin?" Zeth Kalar's plates brightened with what humans had learned was excitement. "Our homeworld is transforming. Using human techniques, we've reduced earthquake damage by 80%, increased our agricultural output by 300%, and established our first permanent settlements in regions we previously considered uninhabitable." The holographic display showed new Vorthik cities that looked nothing like their old fortresses. These buildings were elegant and efficient, designed to work with Kethmorain as natural forces instead of just enduring them. "But the most important change," Zeth Kalar continued, "is in our people. Vorthik children are now learning human-style adaptation techniques. They're not just surviving our world's dangers. They're learning to use those dangers as tools for building better lives." Dr. Brooks returned to the podium. "This transformation on Kethmorin is just one example of what we're seeing across the galaxy. The old model of survival through endurance is being replaced by survival through adaptation and cooperation." He brought up a new set of images showing joint human-alien expeditions exploring some of the most dangerous worlds in the galaxy. These are missions that would have been impossible under the old survival model. By combining human adaptability with alien strengths, we're opening up entire regions of space that were previously off-limits. President Kwalev appeared on a communication screen from the Federation capital. "Secretary General Santos, on behalf of the Galactic Federation, I want to formally thank humanity for sharing your survival knowledge with the galaxy. The Federation Council has voted unanimously to establish Earth as the official center for extreme environment research and training." Maria nodded graciously. "We're honored by the Federation's trust. But I want to emphasize that this isn't about human superiority. It's about sharing knowledge and working together to help all species thrive in challenging environments." "Speaking of challenging environments," Commander Park said with a grin, "we have an announcement about our next major project." The holographic display changed to show a world that looked like something from a nightmare. The surface was covered in lava flows. The atmosphere was filled with toxic gases, and massive electrical storms raged constantly across the landscape. "This is Hellscape 7 in the Forbidden Zone," Lisa explained. "It's considered the most dangerous planet ever discovered. Surface gravity is 3 times Earth normal. The atmosphere is pure sulfuric acid, and the radiation levels would kill most known life forms in minutes." The alien delegates stared at the display in horror. Even the Vorthik looked intimidated by the hellish world on the screen. For the past month, Lisa continued, a joint human-Vorthik expedition has been preparing to establish the first research outpost on Hellscape 7. If successful, it will prove that no environment in the galaxy is truly uninhabitable. Elder Zeeth Kalar stood up again, his plates showing determined gold colors. The Vorthik Volunteer Corps is honored to work alongside human specialists on this mission. 6 months ago, we would have called such a mission impossible. Today, we call it Tuesday. The chamber erupted in what passed for laughter among the various alien species. The transformation in Vorthik attitude was remarkable, and it had inspired similar changes throughout the galaxy. But perhaps, Maria said, as the laughter died down, the most important change has been in how we think about challenges and cooperation. She gestured toward the windows, where the thunderstorm was finally moving away, leaving behind clear skies and sunshine. On Earth, we have